Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a good Saturday morning. Welcome to Gaarawarr's guide today to Azaka. We'll be going over, we're talking a little bit about unlocking Azaka. I should probably switch screens here. We'll go over there and talk about unlocking Azaka, and then we will talk about the infamous Azaka Farming. And we'll answer a lot of questions as I make sure I have all the buttons. Nope, that needs to be over there. We have Jay in chat on the CNE Games account. He will be pulling questions out of chat. You can just post them down below, like see as it says right down there, where it says question colon, and then put the question, and then Jay will know that that is for me, and we'll put that in a document, and I will see it later. We'll do the questions in the second half of the show. So the first half is going to be lots of exposition and explanation. So I won't be reading chat live during that part. And then the second half, we'll do a quick break, and then we'll hop into all of the questions for people. So, and we'll tackle anything and everything about Azaka first, and then we will go into any other questions you might have. Oh, hey, Gaarawarr's Guide to Azaka is live! It's live! Yay! So, yeah, away we go. Because some of the things that relate to Azaka can take a little bit. So we're just going to dive right in. And, who knows? There's no way to know how long this portion of the guide is going to take. So Azaka is what is known as an evergreen champion. For those of you who haven't heard that term, they're basically champions that you can earn at any time during the year, based off, say, well, for one, Hitch, like you just signed up for the newsletter, and you get Hitch, but others you earn through the campaign. Azaka is in the Tomb of Annihilation campaign. If we hop over here onto the Chult map and come all the way down here, we'll see under a grand puzzle, there is Azaka's Procession Part 1. Azaka is the only evergreen champion so far that requires you to two specific variants to unlock. Who knows? We may see that mechanic again. But you have to do at least 30 Tomb of Annihilation adventures or variants to be able to access Part 1. And then, which, obviously I have more than at the moment. We've done these already. You get an interesting formation that is the triangle, but you're missing the center because Azaka's there. Or, well, not Azaka. Azaka's body. She's dead. You're carrying her through this. And then once you beat this, you go to Part 2. Which is, again, the same type of formation. You're basically using 9 champions to get through this. I had thought about setting this up and maybe, demonstrating how you unlock it. But honestly, at this point in time in where the game is, this is real easy, folks. It's real easy. As long as you're going through and, pushing for favor as you push through regular adventures. She only needs about, I'm going to use scientific notation, she only needs about E14 to E16 in that range somewhere to just blow right through and not have any problem with this. There is more than enough power early on in the game for you to unlock Azaka pretty easily. One of the ways that you test it out, though, is you can go to the Tomb of the Nine Gods if you're unsure. Tomb of the Nine Gods under free play here after you've beat the regular version. Place your formation, but leave that center slot blank, and then push through and see, because you only need to get to 300. There aren't any other outrageous changes to this variant other than you not having that person in the middle. So just by leaving one person out of the free play, you can test and see if you have enough favor. So if you're on the E14 range, you may even be able to try it a little lower than that. You can do that and see what happens without necessarily limiting yourself. And the nice thing about trying something out like this in a free play is if it turns out you can't get far enough and you don't have enough favor yet, you can just slot another person and then use that as your favor run because you've already pushed quite a long ways. So don't waste that time, then do a full 10 man and push deep and try to get some favor. And that should help you on the next run, right? So yeah, it's pretty easy to complete once you have her. I think we'll go in here. I don't have her in my current formation on this account. This is my new player account, so we unlocked her pretty easily running through. I think I had about E16 when I unlocked her. Let's just throw her in real quick. Oh, yep, there she is. Yeah, let's bring her down here. So there she is. Azaka, she's got this cool little tiger overlay in the UI. She exists basically as a DPS support, but for the most part, really, people just use her to Azaka farm. That's what we're going to talk about today. She can be, brought into your formation, and used as a DPS or a support. She's not necessarily the strongest of either, but she is useful. Her first ability is Curse of Lycanthropy. She is a were tiger. She is our only lycanthrope or were anything in the game officially. So there's at least one variant where they're like, oh, if you're a lycanthrope or a were person, you do more damage here. Well, they're talking about Azaka currently. So after 20 attacks in human form, she changes into were tiger for 60 seconds, increasing her damage by 100%. And they will track this in the champ UI for you, but that's also what this little bar is above her. So they have a nice little UI interface there. Guiding Hand. Hey, this sounds familiar, folks. Do you know a show on the CNE channel that has Guiding Hand in the title? Yeah, Mars' Guiding Hand. Our friend Mars looked through abilities in the game, and this is one he decided to use for a show title. So and other things now. So Mars is the Guiding Hand. But this increases all gold found by a percentage. This is affected by your gear, I believe. Or is it just upgrades? Ooh, hold on. It's been a while. No, it's upgrades. Okay, yeah. So I have upgrades, potentially. There's stuff that affects it. Its ability is reduced by 50% while Azaka's in were tiger form. So basically, you make a lot of gold when she's not in her were tiger form. Adept Traveler increases the damage of all champions by 1% if they're in an exterior location. This is why we have these little indicators up here that say outdoors. If you're ever wondering, they exist because of Azaka. Because this is the way you know that Azaka should be doing Adept Traveler stuff. That was important. Taste for Blood. While in were tiger form, Azaka does an additional 10% more damage per attack. Resets when she changes back to human form. So this is like a ramping damage issue. And then she's got a couple different specializations here. Resist the Curse. Leaves her... basically reduces the amount of time she's spent in her were tiger form. So she drops 75% of that. So she'll only be in that form for I think 15 seconds, because then it gets a minute. Lycanthrope Forever means, hey, you do it more often. So this is basically this is considered her DPS spec, Lycanthrope Forever, whereas this is her support spec. Basically for Azaka Farming, you want Resist the Curse, because we don't want her in that were tiger form much at all. And we'll upgrade this. And yes, I did see one of the questions already, and we'll address that. So I'll go back to that in a minute. That is a pertinent question, and we'll address it right away here in a second. Her ultimate, resist. This is under Resist Curse, because her ultimate changes based off which specialization she's in, and this is important. This is what it enables Azaka Farming. So under Resist the Curse, if we look at Mask of the Beast, Azaka dons her Mask of the Beast, summoning 2 tigers to her side for 30 seconds. The tigers attack every 5 seconds. This doesn't tell the whole story, though. And we're going to come over here. If Azaka specs with Lycanthrope Forever, the tiger attacks count towards her were tiger transformation, and her were tiger cooldown is paused during her ultimate. So that's if she goes in her DPS form. If she specs with Resist the Curse, this is what we want. The tiger's attacks cause enemies to drop gold even if they aren't killed. That's the big key. So, as we all know, usually if you want to farm gold, you've got to push super deep to a level, and then where you can actually kill stuff, and then you make a lot of money that way, right? But you're limited in terms of your gold find. You can't necessarily use all of those gold find champions that do all those crazy stuff because their buffs don't necessarily let you kill things at that level. You can manipulate things in such a way that, and we're going to do that today, that you don't have to kill anything. You just have to harass them. Mars calls it bullying for lunch money, and that's basically what it is you can harass the enemy or enemies that are left with Azaka's tigers, and they will drop lots and lots of gold for you. We're going to do all of that on screen. So the question that is pertinent, I'm going to ask, and normally I don't dive into this, but we're talking about, it was a question about, specifically, if we hop in, the boss here. This is in Tomb of the Nine Gods, which is where this variant is off of. The final boss here is Sararak the Lich himself. And the question was, how do you stop that guy? So the Sararak fight, like I said, if you get E14 to E16 gold, you should just stomp right through it. Should. If you know how to build a formation, and you can get lots of formation help in the Discord or on the Reddit. If you know how to build a formation, you should just plow right through a Sararak. If you're having trouble with a Sararak, there are 3 things to keep in mind. There are effectively 3 different enemy types on the screen at once. There is a Sararak who is an armored boss. He's standing in the front. Behind him is the Soulmonger, which is this big bluey glowy thing that's collecting souls. It is a hit-based boss, and I believe it has like 100 health. So you just have to do 1 health per hit to take off those little segmented health chunks in the background for that. But then also there are these tentacles on the screen. And the tentacles will smack out at the party and do all kinds of not fun things and make this a very difficult fight. In general, obviously, the way you need to kind of prep for this fight is just have enough damage to be able to kill the Sararak. It sounds pretty straightforward, and that's because it is. The hardest part is basically being able to survive all of the damagey things he's throwing at you. In this case, you may need more than 1 tank. You're going to want some kind of healer or shielder. Calliope works. I use Calliope a lot for this type of situation. She throws out shields all over the place, but you can also have Celeste in your formation as a new player. And then use her ultimate on cooldown so that you're healing the party to full. Back in the day when this was a super hard fight, it really literally came down to, can I live long enough to get Celeste's heal off again? If you could do that over and over and over again, you could win the fight. Back then it could take an hour for you to finally chew through everything and win that fight. But as long as you could live to Celeste's ultimate, no problem. You could do it. It was just 1 chunk at a time every now and then. That was how hard the fight was back then. It was fantastic. It is good at times to have a very fast attacker or someone who is a multi-attacker. On my new player account, I used Hitch for this. He works great because he throws multiple daggers, and those daggers can bounce, and thus if they're doing enough damage to take off 1 chunk, when they bounce, they'll take off multiple. So you can chew through a Sararak pretty quickly. One tip I will give you is you can just manually click. Bring your clicker back here. Let's go in this. You can bring your clicker back here and manually click all the way in the back, like stuff that's in the back. Now, when you click on things that have segmented health or armored health, you can only click off a point of segmented or armored health every 5 seconds or so. So you don't need to just sit here and spam it. But if you click on the Soulmonger, if you think you can just let your party do its thing and survive for a while, if you click through all 100 hits of its health, it will go away. And I believe it takes the tentacles with it, and then you're just left with a Sararak, which makes the fight much easier. But that does require you to live that long. Ultimates are great for this, especially whole screen ultimates. Jarlaxle, if you can afford to have him in. His ultimate hits the whole screen and it does multiple hits, so it can wipe out multiple chunks of the Soulmonger and potentially a Sararak and take out some tentacles. You need to use all of these tools if you're having a hard time on that fight. But again, it's kind of a favor check. As long as you have enough favor, if you're in that E14 to E16 range, it shouldn't be difficult. If you're trying it sooner than that, you're going to have to pull out all the tricks. But if it's a super big headache for you, then my suggestion is exit, go farm up some more gold, and then come back in. If you're someone who doesn't use scientific notation and you don't know what E14 or E16 is, if you just want to come in when in your game, if you're on a PC or Mac and you hit the Y key, it automatically changes it. If you'll notice, like now we're at little n percent, hit Y again, and now it's E31. So just to check your favor, to know where you are, just, you can do that. Or you can come into the main menu under settings and switch it. Where is it now? See, I never change it. So, it's all the way down here. Scientific notation. You can just turn it off and then go low, or turn it on and go look and see what you have, and then turn it off if you want to afterwards. I don't know. I recommend using scientific notation because it's much easier to reference whether something is going up or down, because you just have to look. Did the number after the E go up or did it go down? Like, that's how you know if it's stronger or not. It's real simple. But yeah. All right. Let's dive into more about Azaka. Right here, I have the way you do Azaka farming is you basically... We'll just dive right into that because, again, people don't necessarily use Azaka as a DPS or support. We went over her abilities. That's basically what she's doing. She can either try to kill things in her were-tiger form, or she can be a support for you and resist the curse and then be ready to, do all the gold farming things. But 99.9% of the time people are using her, it's just to Azaka farm. So we'll talk about that. Basically, it involves kind of knowing where your wall is and how to push super deep for you. In this case, I went ahead and did this. I set this up last night. I set up in our newest campaign, Icewind Dale. I just picked a random one. I didn't really... I'm just in the Giantsbane Tavern. This is our newest campaign. It does have... we only have one set of blessings for it, so you don't necessarily need to farm lots of favor currently. But it is one of the harder campaigns that we currently have. The other hard one would be Descent into Avernus. So knowing how to push in, it's going to come in helpful for you. It also has the benefit of having only one tank. If we hop back and we look at level 1 here, I can put all these familiars away. It is a one tank formation. That is helpful, in my opinion, for Azaka farming, simply because we're going to want to try to get as many gold find champions out as possible. And, I tend to only want one tank up front when I'm doing that. It really depends on how you manipulate your enemies, and we'll talk about that in a minute too. There's a lot that goes on with Azaka farming. That's why we wanted to spend most of our time today talking about how you set up and farm with Azaka, because it's not just put Azaka in and get gold. That isn't how it works. That's how Krull works. That's not how Azaka works. So I built a deep push formation, or what I call a deep push formation. I don't necessarily deep push so much anymore, except maybe attempts and events. My favor when I came into this was E26, and I had never really deep pushed in this campaign before. That's just me using the power that I have from all of the different maxed out sources like perks and blessings and Modron cores and abilities. And just on that push alone, I got up to E33. So I'm already seeing a huge increase from E26 to E33 off this run. And what I want to do is maximize that increase with my Azaka farming. So when I started the run, because I knew this is what I was going to do, I knew at the beginning of the run I was going to do a deep run. I used all the potions, all the huge potions. Right, because this lets me push super far right away. I get the benefits right away, and that's what you want. I also tried to, I timed this obviously for a weekend. Usually that's what you want to do. We don't really have usually what you want to look for is, with these weekend buffs, is a combination of champions that you use in your deep push formations, that are showing up here, plus hopefully someone that you would use in Azaka farming that's going to buff your gold find, right? Those kinds of combinations are when you'll see people in Discord going, "Whoop, it's a deep push weekend, time to favor farm." That's because they see like maybe an Avron here, or a Jarlaxle with a gold boost, or when all the stars aligned, a Krull with a Pilfer and a Pain boost. that's when people really tend to want to push super deep. So timing your favor pushes for weekend buffs is going to just kind of help you get the most out of your time and resources, right? You might as well stack it all on there. So whatever your deep push formation looks like, again, it doesn't have to look like this. This is just what I used to get here. Everyone has different characters. Everyone's going to have different gear. Everyone's going to have different blessings and perks. So, you know, you're going to have to figure out, and everyone's going to have a different strategy, right? You're going to have to figure out what that is and figure out how to push the super deep for you, and then get there. So don't worry too much about this situation. And just what we're going to talk about really is how do you manipulate things to farm and make an Azaka farm worthwhile. First off, how do you pick the boss that you want to do this on? Because Azaka farming happens on boss levels. And the whole point is what you want to try to do is manipulate the boss situation so that the boss dies and all but one of the little trash mobs dies. Ideally, you want to just be left with one non-boss enemy on the screen. Now, technically, you could have two non-boss enemies on the screen, and you could farm it. Technically, you could end up with the boss left, and you could farm it. But those are less than ideal situations. But you know, sometimes that's all you've got to work with, and you work with it. This situation, though, is not a good one. This is a boss that has major sets of armored health. Anything I try to do here, like with ultimates or whatever, is definitely going to wipe out all of these enemies first. I also pushed with more than just these huge speed potions. To get this far in this campaign, I used stuff like this too. So I'm going to go ahead and throw all the things on because I have them. The clairvoyance isn't going to do anything for me at the moment, but that's going to be just kind of set up for later. The point is usually when I do this, I'm doing all the things just to try to get everything out. Ooh, nope, I'm not going to do that though. I'm not going to do the speed stuff yet because it gets real quick on screen, and I want you all to be able to see this. And it's something that you can learn to do and to manipulate all this stuff at speed. But for the sake of instruction, and when you start off, you want to do it probably without speed potions. I mean, you can learn it with the huge one, but you don't want a full stack. All right, let's see if I even have the damage to clear this off. Do I? I might not. I can't remember how fiddly I got with this. Do I have? Okay, we've got Grimmin. I've got, for maximizing my wall, I've built out a formation with with Avern in the middle of a lot of people that are going to qualify for his mirror images. And what we want to do is we want to get one of those mirror images on Zorbu. And now we've got all four around Avern, so that maximizes the damage coming off of that combination. Still not enough to take off chunks here. So I've got Ayla's debuff on everybody, and I'm going to swap Morgaine in because Ayla's debuff sticks around. And I'm going to see if having Morgaine in helps me do more damages. This is one of the things about demonstrating this is you've got to set this up in advance. You can't just do it. I can't just do a deep run and get this far and get somewhere where I can actually manipulate a boss and try to set this up. Ooh, look at that. 40 stacks right there. Oh, now there's 40 on the boss. You know what? Okay. Let's demonstrate a less than optimal situation. Because we're going to do that. Hold on. Okay, so the big thing that I'm demonstrating this is a full, because I had everything here, and we'll just demonstrate what the kind of what for me is the perfect kind of situation for Azaka farming. But then we'll talk about just basic situations and basic farms here in a bit. If you have all the champions, or at least a good chunk of them, or at least Krull, what we want to look for here is Krull with his Virulent Strain feats. enable a situation like this where an enemy can have 40 stacks of his plagues on it. In this situation, we have 40 for all three, which is... This is the rarest unicorn, folks. Normally, you might end up with 40 on one or another, but 40 on all three. Yeah. The big one that we want here for Azaka Farming is 40 on Pilfer. Pilfer is the green one that comes off the bottom. Just for education's sake, 40. The red is Pain, and the purple on the top left here is Traitor. So for pushing, you really want Pain. For clearing out groups of enemies, you want Traitor, and then for Pilfer, we want right there. We want the. I need to stun him a little more often. There we go. For Pilfer, we want the 40 on the bottom because Pilfer is what enables massive, enormous, broken amounts of gold to drop off something when it dies. Multiple instances of Pilfer multiply against themselves. So Pilfer right now, under him, is doing 300% more gold per stack, roughly. We're just going to round this up to 300. So a stack goes up to 10, so that means 3,000. And then I'm going to break out a calculator because it's too early for me to do this in my head. Each instance, so it's up to 40. It isn't 40 stacks. It's 4 instances of 10. So we get 3,000 as one instance, and then that multiplies against it the next instance, that's 3,000. And then that multiplies against the next instance, that's 3,000. And then that multiplies against the next instance, that's 3,000. Which means I went from getting a 3,000% gold bonus when it dropped at 10 stacks to an 81 trillion % gold bonus with 40 stacks. This is why Krull is broken, folks. When people talk about lots of stacks and Krull being really overpowered, and this is why this is it. And this is why when I saw 40 stacks, I was like, okay, we're going to stop right here. We're going to stop right here. You are not going to see 40 stacks, probably ever, if you don't have increased toxicity. The most you will see, Venomous Touch you get automatically when you unlock Krull. The most you'll probably see here is 20. You may rarely see a unicorn in the wild that is 30 or maybe even 40. But you'll probably see it for a blink of a second and then it's going to die. Just because. That's kind of how it works. But once you get both of these, this is why people hunt for this increased toxicity. It comes out of gold chests, any regular gold chests, like any other feat. They hunt for this and they get super excited when they get it because this is what enables super deep pushes and all of the favor that comes along with it. So we've got it set up. We've got 40 stacks on here. I've manipulated the boss into a situation where I'm trying to keep him back off of me because he's ramping up in damage and I don't want him to kill me. He may kill me at some point anyway, but that we're just going to have to accept that. I'm going to start rearranging my formation here, just hopefully to keep Wolfgar alive. And I'm going to start swapping in or out people so that I can set up a situation for Azaka Farming. So first off, obviously, we want to bring Azaka in. I have familiars down here on these ultimates. These ultimates are just existing to keep him back and stunned. I'm going to put in well, no, I'm not going to mess with that. We're going to be swapping some of these people out, so I'm not going to mess with it too much. What we don't want to touch here is Krull. Krull can't come out. If he comes out, you lose all his stacks. You can't respec him either, or you lose all of his stacks. You can change his feats, but on some platforms, that makes him lose all of his stacks. So we're just going to leave this alone. I did put Krull in his Pilfer spec because I knew I was coming in to do an Azaka farm. So he's going to be dropping the most gold possible. Now I need somebody in here that's going to boost gold find, right? So right now I'm at 363 E35% gold find. What you do here that is non-normal from regular play is at this point, we don't care about what our bud is. Like, our bud is ticking down. Like, we haven't set bud in 4 minutes because I changed things around. I took out stuff. I don't even have Zorbu in anymore. We don't care about our damage right now. We just care about maximizing our gold find percent. So one of the best ways to do that is you go back to Jarlaxle, your old friend from when the game started, and you swap him in. I'm going to put him right here where Avern is. All of a sudden, I'm up to E38% gold. That was a solid jump. We want to do this in multiple places, if we can. Who else can I bring in? So I have Grim in here. Grim was in for a debuff, but his buddy, Beetle, actually applies another debuff that makes enemies drop more gold if they've been damaged. Under special order, enemies by damage... special order up here. Whenever Beetle damages an enemy that is not at full health, that enemy will drop an amount of more gold when it is killed. Again, the key here is when it is killed. Now, we're not killing it, and that may confuse some people, but then we have to go back and remember, Azaka, her tigers, cause enemies to drop gold even if they aren't killed. And that is based off the when they are killed instance tag. So any of these debuffs that we can apply to things are going to help us in this case. I'm going to bring in Dinar. Now I bring in Dinar because Dinar has a debuff. He's doing some CC here, but he has a debuff and it's hidden behind here. But it is a coin symbol with 3 lines above it, so it looks like the coin is dropping. I can see it behind the shield. This is why I did this a little bit slower. I can see it behind the shield. I can see those 3 blue lines behind the shield. So this is something you have to learn when you're stacking lots of debuff, is how to tell when a debuff is applied, even when you've got a lot of other stuff over it. I know it's there. It sticks around even if I swap him out. So I'm going to bring Regis back because Regis, under one of his Companions of the Hall abilities, down here, Ruby Invigoration, it increases the bounty of the Hall pool gold find by 100%, which basically means you're doubling the gold find. It's not a huge bonus. It's one of the smaller bonuses in the game. But for the moment, we're just going to bring him in because we may not have anybody else that's going to do better than that. We'll see. Brunor has something like that as well. If we go all the way up here, I believe it's at 1,000. Yeah, Long Lost Companions. Increases the bounty of the Hall pool by 100%. All of the companions have this bonus. Dritzt's is larger, so we're going to want to bring him in. But so Brunor is a possibility. Brunor is actually a better option than Regis because Brunor, with his Wisdom feat, qualifies him for Narak, and Narak buffs that ability. So if you've never heard of Narak before, Narak is a champion who has an ability called Githzerai Focus that buffs other people's ability if they have Wisdom that qualifies. So we're going to want to bring in some Narak action. He's actually here with the Beetle and Grim. But again, we've already applied our gold debuff from Beetle, so we can bring Narak in. And then we're going to want to bring... Grama is currently slowing this enemy down, the boss down. This is something you may have to do with a boss. If you're trying to halt a boss, you may not have the highest gold find ability possible because you need to keep that boss off of you. We're going to manipulate that here in a second. But if you don't have certain champions to manipulate that with, what I'm using is a combination of knockbacks and stuns with Ayla, Wolfgar, and with Grama to keep the boss basically as far away as possible from me. There is another way we can manipulate that. If once he is off, and we'll just go ahead and talk about it. Because, hey, maybe if we talk about it on stream, they'll fix it. Let me pull over Avalar from another party. I'm gonna because I'm trying to do lots of things and we have some time, I am gonna answer some of the questions from the document here. And one I see right away is, why have Wolfgar in front? Well, because Wolfgar's a tank. And you got to have a tank in this formation or none of this works, right? Like, or else things are going to beat the hell out of you like it's doing right now. Come on, get away. Get away from me. Okay. Because we've got our friend here dying. I'm going to bring in Dinar again just to keep this situation alive and maybe heal up my my friend here in the front so she doesn't die. But what I want is Havilar. And in this situation, I'm going to go Speedy Sacrifice. We'll find out why in a moment. Okay, so we've got the boss away. I'm going to bring Havilar in. And I've got a familiar on alts. And what this does is her ultimate sacrifices her imps. And, okay, we've got Dinar pushing back. I don't need to bring Ayla in. Sacrifices her imps, and it also applies a slow, which makes the enemy not really walk back in very much quicker. I can bring Grama out now because we've got a slow from Havilar. I can bring Dinar out. We're going to start swapping some other people in. We've got Dritzt. I'm going to put him next to Narak because Dritzt also qualifies for Githzerai Focus. If you notice, we're now up to E39% gold find. This is what we want to watch. But you'll notice the boss isn't really getting to us anymore because Havilar's just constantly applying a slow with every ultimate. In a bit, the boss just will stop moving because he's kind of frozen in place. This is a Havilar manipulation, whether it's intended or not for her slow to stack repeatedly and multiply on top of itself. Who knows? But then again, it was never really intended to use Azaka in this formation in this way either, so we're going to call it Emergent gameplay until they decide to change it. That's kind of how this works. All right, so I'm going to bring back Regis. Now I've got Brunor. We'll go look. With his Githzerai Focus on him, we can now see that his Long Lost Companions ability is up to 268.8%, so it more than doubled. That's great. That's what we wanted. Dritzt, let me see. There's his Companions of the Hall. His is 537. If you want to just do this all in front, Jarlaxle likes rogues, but also just has a straight up gold find boost under Master of Piracy, which is up there in the EO 4%, right? So we're getting a lot of gold find. So we're up to 8 E39%. Because I am slowing the boss down and keeping it away from the formation, I don't need Calliope anymore. So I'm going to bring in some Omen action. We're going to move Freely up here. Freely is a gold find champion. I see. Where do you see the slow on Havilar's abilities? It's here. Havilar's ultimate attack. Ultimate for the Simps. Oh, is it not on there? Hold on. Is this an instance of things in the game not showing up like they did in... Yeah. It looks like this is an instance of things that showed up in the Champion Spotlight that aren't actually in the game. All right. I think her imp thing is the very first one. It is a function of her imps. Let me pull up and double check that it's in the Champion Spotlight. There are cases where, and we try to submit tickets and get this changed, where there is text that is in Champion Spotlights. This is why it's good to read Champion Spotlights when they come out. There is sometimes text in Champion Spotlights that isn't in the game. So I just have to find her Champion Spotlight so I can double check. Because it's something I know she does. It's something a lot of people know she does, but obviously not everyone knows if they didn't read it. Where is her? Here we go. Okay. So we'll leave that there, and we're going to come over here. Havilar's abilities. Heroic Sacrifice. The summoned imp that isn't Mott flings itself at the nearest enemy and explodes, dealing massive damage in a large area and slowing all affected enemies. So it can slow a group. That's what we're triggering here. We're just triggering it on one person, and we're going to do it until I see them stop moving. I think we're probably real close to being there. Omen. I brought in Omen because Omen is a gold find champ. He's a bit manipulative because he wants contractual obligations. Every time a champion in front of Omen attacks, they fulfill an obligation Omen. When he reaches 100 obligations fulfilled, he grants a 100% gold buff. So this runs up and it counts the number of obligations fulfilled. And when it hits 100, then it counts down from 30 seconds. The visual effect when you're not running massive amounts of speed potions is gold starts dropping around Omen from the skies like it's raining gold. Let's see if we can visualize that for you. We're at 55. I probably need some faster attackers in front of him. So let's add Omen there. That's probably a little better. We probably want like that. The key here is I want Dritz and Brunar still next in rack, no matter what. Do we have... Okay, 88s, 90s. I know this isn't Azaka, but it's all related to Azaka, so keep an eye on. Now it should hit, and it's not dropping gold. Yeah. I guess I just have too much speed. But yeah, it should be a rain of gold around Omen, which doesn't apparently want to work when I have a huge potion of speed on. So usually what I do is I watch it over here. This is going to come in handy here in a moment. Freely has Luck of Yandala, specifically Requisition, which shows up as a piece of fruit on the debuff. Target drops more gold per application. So there is a way to do Azaka farming where instead of maxing out necessarily all of these gold find champions, you're having a mix of gold find champions and then people that match Freely's alignment choice that you made. Usually people go with good because you end up a lot of these gold find champs are good aligned. And the more people that are attacking the champion or the enemy, the more chances of that fruit, requisition debuff, gold debuff, getting multiple stacks, and those stacks multiply against each other, if I remember correctly, much like Crawl. Yeah, stacks multiplicatively. So just like Crawl, this can start getting, pretty crazy pretty quickly if you get lots of them. There are people who choose to do that and rely on that RNG. The problem is that you can't really see how many stacks that we know of are on the enemies. So there's a lot of hope and faith and trust. As you can see, we're up already over here, though. For a moment there, we were at E40. And I think that's because we had probably triggered into Omen's buff a little bit. Oh, no, this is probably just the requisition stuff. Who knows? We're getting a little flux, and that's just kind of how this works. But when Omen's stuff... Oh, there's Omen's. E42%. So you can watch this. Or you can open this up and watch. The key here is when it does hit 100 is usually when you're going to want to both hit Freely's ultimate and Azaka's ultimate at the same time to maximize your gold gain. We're going to do one more thing here before we start farming this boss. And that's we're going to double check that we have all of our gold find potions on. We're just going to do this for a couple minutes. So we do have a triple stack. I'm going to add one more. I'm going to add the final 5 minutes of gold find. Normally I would set up, once I had set up something that I'm going to farm, I would set up an hour of gold find stuff, and then I'd drop an hour of speed potions, and then I'd just let it run for that hour and maximize everything. But we're just going to demonstrate this for the moment. Now, we still have Havilar in here. We don't need her in here, though, because that boss isn't going anywhere. So we can bring Wolfgar back, and we've upped our gold find. Now we're in the E43s. Which is good. We want as much as possible. Now, again, this is a bit suboptimal for a couple ways. I mean, the fact that we have a boss out here is suboptimal, but we're relying on the fact that we have 40 pilfer stacks. I went super deep. This was my wall. You can see I've got auto progress on, so this was my wall. Getting it right at my wall is the ideal situation. So this is going to, with 40, this is such a bigger boost, as I explained earlier, than 81 trillion% gold find. It's such a bigger boost than anything I can manipulate back here, that the real big win that we're getting is off these 40 pilfer stacks. So whatever we have to manipulate back here is great. This is icing on the 40 stack cake. All right. So we're going to time this. I'm going to take off all of these familiars. We don't have any familiars out. This is key in those cases where you're at a place where you might actually kill what you're trying to farm. You don't want to do it on accident. I am going to watch. See, we're down to 40%. I'm going to get my fingers ready on my hotkeys. When I see that jump up to 43%, I will know, or even 42, 43, I will know Omen is active. And I'm going to hit Freely's ult to make sure I'm potentially getting as many possible stacks for his available. And I'm going to hit Azaka's. I'm at 2.3 E33 favor right now. Okay, any day now. Do I need to open this up and look? I feel like I'm going to do... Yeah, 96. We're almost there. There it goes. So I'm hitting Freely's ult and I'm hitting Azaka's ult. Her tigers come out. She starts attacking and you can see gold dropping now, right? It's just going to lay here on a pile. This first ultimate is going to be kind of the major wow factor moment for you in getting gold. The were tigers are gone. Now we're waiting for the cooldowns. We had 2.3 E33. We went up E03 on one ultimate. This is, like I said, this is the biggest bang for your buck, is that first ultimate in terms of, oh my God, that was a lot of favor. So we just went up E03 favor potential after we're done here from one Azaka ultimate. Now, if that's all you want to do and then you want to peace out, fine. But if you're going to go through all this work to do this, you may as well, get as much as you can off of it. Like I said, that's why I set this up and we'll let it do it for an hour. I tend to just leave it up to random, and I'll put a familiar here and a familiar here, and I'll just take what it gives me without... Some people will sit here and manually do stuff, and they'll swap champions in and out, and they'll, like with save formations that they have to manipulate the most possible when they go to hit those cooldowns again. I'm not that person. Like I said, I try to get the 40 stack because to me, that's the big jackpot. Anything else is a bonus. So I'm going to wait. We can watch over here. Contractual obligations are ticking up slowly. If you're running full speed potions, this is going to obviously be ticking up much quicker. I could probably also set up a better stack of heroes with fast attacks to make that come back quicker. These are all things you can do to manipulate when you get up here. There's lots of ways. There's lots of other, well, not lots of other, well, there are lots of other gold find champs. Here we go. Now we're up again. There are other gold find champs. A lot of them are in Jarlaxle's spot, like Stokey, Ishi. Ishi doesn't on kills. Stokey has one that doesn't, she doesn't have the old version of Stokey had a debuff that stuck around, but not anymore. Palton can do it, but I find Jarlaxle to be just the best overall in that modifier. Let's see. Brunor is really the only one in slot 1. Again, you apply a debuff with Dinar in slot 2, and then you can bring Regis in. Omen is the slot 3 for gold find. Slot 4, I recommend Jarlaxle. You can do a Puent thing with Companions of the Hall. He also gets a Companions of the Hall bonus, even though he isn't a Companion of the Hall. He is just a friend of the Companions. But he gets that same kind of multiplier. So if you get into a situation like this where the enemy isn't on you, you could bring Puent in. Krull, obviously, the only person you need to worry about here. Freely. Narak, again, I like to set up the Beetle and Grim thing. Like Beetle does that as long as you've done damage to it. If you haven't done damage to it, it's not going to matter. And then Narak to buff things. Again, Dritz has the biggest Companions of the Hall bonus and gets buffed again by Narak. Wolfgar has a Companions of the Hall bonus. I don't think there's anyone that I would use here. A lot of people will use Warden. That's why I leveled him up. They'll use Warden to stack up those freely requisition stacks in some cases. And then, of course, you want Azaka for Azaka Farming, right? What are we up to now? Yeah, so see, it didn't go up much. We were at like 2.3 or 2.4 E36. Another ult only got me close to 3 E36. But this is a way you can slowly, over the course of an hour or however long you want to farm it, get this up. And I could probably, if I were going to sit here and do this, I could probably get it up to E37, which is a good increase. I could probably milk it over with full speed potions and full clairvoyant stuff. I could probably milk that up to E37. If you're using a full stack, if you don't want to use speed potions, that is the equivalent of 10 hours of farming. But I would rather get all those 10 hours done in 1 hour and also be able to use only an hour of gold find potions, right? Efficiency. So how do you do this if you don't have all of these champions, right? Oh, I forgot one more thing. Normally, and I didn't do this, normally you want to go through and make sure that you take a moment to make sure all of your feats are as gold find friendly as possible, right? So we have Azaka in, she's got a lucky feat. That's it. So you just want to make sure that's slotted if you have it. Bruenor doesn't have any. Or not Bruenor, Wolfgar. Dritz does have a pair, though, and you want to... phrasing. You want to get those in if you have them. It doesn't matter for Narak, because, again, he's really just there for his Gith's Eye focus. It doesn't have anything that affects it. So it's just gonna... when he's max level, it's gonna give this bonus. It's just how it works. Freely does, though. Freely has, I would want in his Requisition Lucky Break, which I have, and then I would have wanted his Fortune's Favor here instead of Unlucky for them. That would maximize it. Again, on some platforms, Krull breaks if you swap in his feats, so I'm not going to do that. But on Steam, he currently keeps his stacks if you swap his feats. So normally I would do the 40% and the 25% here. Jarlaxle I just always leave in this formation, because lately all I use Jarlaxle for is this. So he's got a super big one. If you don't have that, then he's got 10% and 25%. And yes, phrasing. Contractual obligations and gold fine. So I already had him in here. This is what you would want for Omen in this situation. Regis doesn't have any. And then Bruenor, if you're going to use him, and you have Narak, if you're going to do this combination, you need his Observant to make him qualify for Narak, right? So having all of this will help maximize the amount of gold you get when it drops. Where are we at? Let's see. I think oh yeah, we're real close. I think my 5-minute one dropped. So let's do this one more time. There we go. 3E36. Let's see what we can get if we eke a little more favor out with those feats. But setting it up, once you have this set up and everything's ready, then you want to then go in and swap in, make sure that you have all the correct feats in. Because again, if you put in, normally this takes a lot of time to get a 40 stack. If you're going to put in that amount of effort, you may as well maximize your return. One moment. Of course, my nose wants to run right in the middle of a stream. Apologies. We're going to talk about one more thing that involves Gem Dark Magic. Okay, see, it got up a little over 3, so, I eked a little more out. That works. One of the others fell off. That's fine. I'm not too worried about how much gold I get off this round. Like I said, I was at E26 here before, and I'm leaving with E36. That's a combination of a good, solid deep push that I hadn't done here, plus Azaka farming at the end. Grab EO3, more favor off the end from the Azaka farm. But this is kind of the power of Azaka. You can multiply those gains. Now this means, because of the fact that I went from like E26 to E33 on one run, that means there's a lot more favor I could get here. There just is. Now that I've got that much, getting an E12 increase off one run means I should probably, if I were really trying to maximize my gains, I should do another deep run and another Azaka farm. And it would probably be a smaller increase, but it would still be a good chunk if I needed that favor. I don't need that favor here, so I'm not going to do that. But that's what you want to keep in mind when you're trying to figure out how much further can I push, how much more favor can I gain off the current setup that I have. All of this, we've done some pretty crazy manipulations, but I want to point out that you do not need all of these champions to Azaka farm. All you really need is the champions that you come with when the game starts. Bruenor, you can have Bruenor in just for his double bonus. Azaka and Jarlaxle. You can have just those three push as deep as you go. If those are the only three champions out of all of this that I've been talking about that you have, That's fine. You can do that, and you can Azaka farm. Are you going to see as huge of an increase? No, but you're still going to see a bigger jump than you would have if you just tried to farm, like kill farm, on a level that was a little lower than your wall. It's more time efficient for you to bring in Azaka with Jarlaxle and Brunor and do that. Now, I think you should also have Dritz by that point, in my opinion. If you're a newer player starting the game, your first goal should be to work down Sword Coast and unlock Dritz. And then move to Tomb of Annihilation and unlock Azaka. So if you have those 4 is where I think is kind of what you should be. What you should have. If you have Azaka and you don't have Dritz, go unlock Dritz, because it is a good bonus to have. And one that you're going to use, even at in-game like I am, right? For now, until we get better options. And that's the key to remember, is these may be champions that people are using right now, for gold find, but that doesn't mean it's always going to be that way. Every time we have new, Omen is a recent addition. Before him, we would have another member of the Companions of the Hall in here, potentially, like, Caddy Bree was the option before Freely was here. We would bring in her for her double, right? But then Freely came in, he had the better gold find option, so we swapped him in, and we've got Omen in here instead of, say, Puent, right? So things are going to change over time. Just remember that the idea that you're shooting for with an Azaka gold farming formation is to isolate a single creature on a boss level. And we do it on a boss level because the boss level is the only level where more enemies don't spawn in most cases. So you have to find a boss level that fits those parameters. You isolate that enemy, and then you swap out your push champions for gold find champions, and then you manipulate that bonus of the gold find, right? Like we see here. So outside of this, the other thing that we want to learn, and we'll have to actually leave this boss and his sweet, sweet 40 stacks. It's so nice. I'm going to save this as an Azaka farm, and this is good to do so you don't have to swap things out later on. Oh, did it not? I didn't put. Yeah, I did put 3. It's not showing up. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. I'm going to need to put a push formation back in because I'm going to go to a different level and we're going to do something a little different. So let's get this back into. I forgot to save what my push formation looked like. Oops. Let's see if I can remember. We're going to swap him in for his buddy. These were all the same. This was different. He was right there. We could use he was right there. Is this what it was? Oh. And he was her. No, this was here, this was here, that was there. That's more like it. That looks more accurate. All right, so let's drop back. I'm probably going to have to add in, how much do I have time left here? 20 minutes. All right, so let's add 15 minutes. What I really need is the giant strength to make sure we're killing. And yeah, this boss will work. So this is a boss that can just die normally. We'll just call it that. There's no armor on it. The minions, when they come in, there isn't a constant stream of them like there are with some bosses. Some bosses are like sit back here with hit-based stuff, and they stream lots of bosses. You got to find a situation like this where we can just kill something right away. That was actually a little too quick, but that's actually perfect. That means we can do it. So what I'm going to do here, this is a manipulation event. As I like to call it, I am going to be manipulating for a mimic. So Jim Dark Magic has a Wand of Wonder. His Wand of Wonder occasionally, and we have it already, occasionally will transform an enemy into either an Abyssal Chicken, which dies instantly, which is what's used for getting rid of those Krull leftovers on certain boss levels, or he will turn it into a Mimic. Mimic has 5 armored health. I can see it. You're probably like, how do you know he got it? I can see its tongue sticking out over here. This is the stuff you have to figure out. I can see its tongue, its little purple tongue sticking out over here. I'm going to try to manipulate it back with some dinar action. And we'll see it here in a moment. Mimics, the reason we want to mimic is twofold. One, mimics drop 10 times more gold than a regular enemy does. And we're looking for gold find bonuses when we're doing Azaka farms. But that's not the big reason that you want it currently. The big reason is those 5 armored health. Those 5 armored health mean you can nuke in one shot like these enemies that are on the screen. And that mimic will stay alive, right? And the whole point of Azaka farming is isolation. We need to isolate one enemy. So why not have it be an enemy that is hard to kill and drops more gold? It's kind of a win-win. We haven't seen him yet. He's in there, I swear, folks. The other reason, if you'll notice, everything I did here was intentional. I brought Jim in when I first loaded the level. I had Zorbu out. And the moment I saw a Mimic show up, I swapped Jim for back to Freely. So why am I doing all of these things? And why is there no Zorbu in here? When you're trying to manipulate a situation like this so that you're left with one enemy and that enemy has 40 stacks, hopefully, you need to give Krull time to do his job. Krull needs time to spread plagues to everyone, and we need to get those pilfer plagues on everyone. And also, the pain and the traitor, that's all going to help to clear the way. If there was the Mimic, he poked his head out there. We want to make sure that we maximize all of the plagues. So what we're doing is we're giving Krull ample time to spread everything out. And I have Dinar in here because Dinar is applying his gold debuff. You see it. Oh, well, it was right there. You could see the circle, like the coin and the drop. We want to apply that to everything because we don't know. We want to make sure it ends up on the Mimic, right? And we also help to keep our tank alive by pushing stuff back, but we also help to look every time someone gets knocked back. I check their plagues. Like, are they all at 10? Because at some point when they're all at 10, I'm going to try to nuke them all. I feel like they're all at 10 right now. I'm going to give it a second. I kind of want to see the Mimic again. I want to make sure the Mimic has Pilfer. So until I can see that Mimic, until I think they're all at 10 and I can see the Mimic to make sure that the Mimic already has his Pilfer stacks, I'm going to leave this. Now the key here again, there it is. Yeah. And he's got all 3. Now we're going to kill. And the key here again comes down to Krull's Virulent Strain. So if you had swapped his feats out again, we just want to make sure that Virulent Strain is going on because Virulent Strain is what causes instances of those plagues to transfer when something dies. So now we're going to bring Zorba back in and we're going to try to clear all of this away and be left with only the Mimic. Spoiler alert, we might clear it all away and we may be left with the Mimic and nothing may have transferred to the Mimic at all. In which case, we would start over because the goal is to get those 40 stacks. 20 isn't enough for me. 30 sometimes might be enough, but 40 is really what I want. It's taken me up to an hour before to get a 40 stack Mimic to appear, which is why we stopped on that boss because, jackpot. So yeah, it can just be random. We're not clearing the boss off like we did before, but let's apply some debuffs. We're going to get Zorbu's butt up as high as we can. And then we're going to pop Avern's ult with high bud. Did it kill anything? No. Wow. Interesting. Do we need more damages? We might. I'm not going to add more potions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in more gain. Because again, I've already got the electrified. Boom, 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 boom. Now we need Zorbu out. We need the clickies off. We don't want to kill. Again, here we go. This is what I said was going to happen. We were going to kill them all off, and it was just going to be a 10 stack. Womp, womp, womp. So normally, we would just start over. I would pop back a level. I would do it again, and I would create a gimmick, as we like to call them, again, and we would do all that again, and we would repeat over and over and over again until I got 40 stacks, and then I'd farm that 40 stack Mimic for all the gold it's carrying. Because yeah, that's the whole point, right? So yeah, I'm not gonna remanipulate that. But you know, you can do all the same things that we did before, if you want. You know, you can do the knockbacks, you can do the slows, you can do all the manipulations, and you can make all the monies. This is Azaka farming in a very big nutshell, because this is not easy thing to describe or explain. I have done it before on stream. Again, this is probably not. There are going to be people out there that are like, well, there's these other ways that you can maximize this, and yeah, there are. There's lots of ways. There's lots of ways. To me, the only one that really there's only two things that matter to me, and that's creating a mimic, because it's the easy way to isolate an enemy, and making sure that mimic has 40 stacks of Krull's Pilfer on it. That's it. That's what I want. That's all I want out of that situation. That's what's worth it to me. Everything else again is just icing. But if you wanna get all the icing as you possibly can on that mimic cake, you go right ahead. More power to you. I'd love to see when people find new ways to manipulate gold and gold farming like this. A shout out. Probably should have done this at the beginning. I'm gonna do it at the end before we take a quick 15-second pause before the Q&A portion. Shout out to Silisa, I believe Silisa, for, with my memory, it's been a long time. I believe Silisa is the person who came up with this whole situation and set us down this whole Azaka farming path in the first place when Azaka came out a long time ago. So, you know, blame her for this. Or them, excuse me. Yeah, you know. So I'm going to take a quick break so I can drink some water, and then we'll be right back. I'll go through all of these questions. It looks like we have a couple dozen questions. So if you have other questions about this, go ahead and throw them in the chat. Jay will start grabbing them, and I'll be right back. All right, and we're back. I'm going to address a comment I saw in the chat before I hit the questions. Do you need to Azaka farm? Like, is this even something you have to do to play this game? No. I unlocked Azaka. So on my other account that we were looking at, that is what an account that I refer to as my Gaarawarr challenge account. You can find more information on that on the subreddit. But that is basically a new player account that I started to try to play through along with a bunch of people in the community. We're playing through trying to find efficient ways to play through the game so that we can answer questions for new players and be helpful. There are lots of people out there that can help you in the Discord and on the subreddit, and especially, you know, if you see them doing Gaarawarr stuff, you know that they know what it's like to be a newer player and have relevant answers to your questions, and aren't just, you know, people who play at the end game with all the big toys and stuff and tell you that, you know, only these champions work. No, like, there's lots of viable things you can do in the game. You don't have to play hyper optimally like this, right? On my Gaarawarr account, so on my newer player account, which is a little over 2 months old now, I have not Azaka farmed yet at all. I haven't needed to. I have just played through adventures and treated each adventure as a gold farming situation, and found that gets me more than enough to complete all the content, like all the main adventures. I complete all the base adventures there. I can complete the basic variants. I can unlock the evergreens. I can max out my blessings. I can do all those things without needing to stop an Azaka farm. So it's not necessary. It's just an extra tool to add to your toolbox in terms of knowledge and things that you can do to farm up favor faster in situations if you want them, but you don't have to do it. You don't have to do any of this. Any of the things we talk about, you don't have to do them. You can play, as long as you're having fun playing the game, go have fun playing the game. But if you want to know some of these other strategies that people are using, that's what these tutorials are for. Let me see if I can find things that are specifically Azaka related. How do I swap out my characters? My default characters are my only choices. If your default characters are your only choices, that means you haven't unlocked any new choices yet. Yeah, it means you're a brand new player. You have to earn champions in the game. Most champions come from events or time gates. There's a natural time gate weekend going on right now. If you click this button up here, it will take you to this screen, except it will have like 3 options for you. Like it'll say open time gate, and then it'll give you 3 event champion options for you. And you can pick one and unlock them. And once you've unlocked them, then they will show up here with this little arrows, and you will be able to pull them out. The other option is playing through the campaign. There are evergreen champions. Azaka is one of them that you earn just by completing certain milestone achievements in the game. I've got a whole list of those on the wiki, like the Reddit wiki. If I'll put in chat, you can go there. There is a listing called Evergreen Champions, and it tells you how to unlock all of them. The first one you want to get, though, is you want to come over to the main menu, and you want to click Newsletter, and you want to sign up for the newsletter. That'll get you Hitch right away. Hitch is over here. He swaps for Delana. He doesn't look like this normally. This is Mind Flayer Hitch. It's a skin. But Hitch is right here, and he's fantastic. He is still my primary DPS on my new player account after 2.5 months, and probably will be for a little while longer. So, yeah. Who's the moose? So this moose is Turial. That's his mooseral form. This is his Icewind Dale Turial skin. Yeah, normally he would be a bear in his regular form or his champion Turial form, but this was a special skin that turns him into a moose. Because, you know, Canadian. I guess that was a general question, but, you know, it's out there. What if you don't go on the next level and let it stack? Cine4, I'm not sure what since that was in the moment when you asked, I'm not sure what that means. So Cine4, if you're still here, if you want to clarify what you meant by that, I'll try to answer that question. Isn't it bad to put huge bud potion for Azaka farm? Huge bud potion? If you're talking about fire breath, no. Because again, I'm putting all of these things on to help me get as far as possible. And by the time I get to my true wall, which is the point where I truly can't manipulate things to kill any further, I'm not killing with a fire breath potion. I'm just not. I'm only killing with some kind of crazy combination of debuffs and potentially and a high bud spike and then manipulating that with an ultimate that's going to do lots of damage or something. Like that's what's going to kill things. The fire breath potion isn't. If you're still killing things with a fire breath potion, you're not really at your true wall. You need to figure out how to get there. Question, why have Wolfgar in front? I think I addressed that because he's the tank. Wolfgar's a tank, and we needed a tank in the front line. How do you know what your total gold find percentage is? You keep mentioning it, but where do you see it? Oh, it's right up here in the top left. I think I indicated and I brought the cursor up here a few times. I don't have any other way to really highlight this area. But in your top left, this is where the gold symbol is. This is telling you how much gold you have up here, which is I currently have E134. But right under that is my gold find percentage. And it will vary based off who I put in here. And like here, I'm gonna bring Jarlaxle in. And it's going to go way up. Yeah, EO3% gain. Right? So it's all tracked up here. The debuffs you've applied on the mob stick around forever, or do they expire after a while? With these specific ones, it is generally believed they all stick around forever. Some debuffs linger for a certain period of time and then fall off. Like if I were to pull Gromma out, she's applying a freezing breeze debuff that slows movement down. If I were to pull her out, eventually that would fade. Some debuffs remove instantly the moment you remove a champion. Like if I were to pull, well here, I'll pull Krull out, right? We can see this over here. He's still got all the plagues on, but if I pull Krull out, they all disappear. right? That's why you don't want to touch Krull once he's got 40 stacks on. Because, I mean, you can move him around in your formation, but you can't remove him from the formation. So, which tune stacks plunder? I'm not exactly sure what that means. I'm thinking gold find. I mean, again, you have to learn what the gold find champions are. So it's any champion that's going to have an ability that increases gold find specifically, or in the case of, let's come over here. Causes the target to drop more gold. This isn't going to show up in your gold find calculations. And Krull is the same way. So that 81 trillion% I was talking about with 40 stacks for me, that doesn't show up in gold find percent. It shows up just in the amount of gold that gets dropped off that enemy. Isn't there a stun version of this farm? I mean, I think this is the best stun version of this farm. A long time ago, there was I think it was Regis would cause enemies to drop more gold if the enemies were stunned. That isn't a thing anymore, if that's where you're going with this. Make sure that when you're reading up on gold farming, that you're reading a more recent guide or getting more recent information. There are some real old gold farm guides that people tell you to look up, and they just don't. What they're telling you to look at is just how you build an Azaka farm, not necessarily with those, like how all those champion abilities works, because champions abilities have changed over time. So ideally you just want to learn the basics of Azaka farming and like singling out a mob and then maximizing your gold find. But then make sure that the abilities that people are talking about are current, which probably only happens in a more current guide. Does the Bounty of the Hall bonus increase based on the more companions of the hall you have in the field? No, it doesn't. That was something that we thought a long time ago. We thought that, hey, if you have them all out, it gets bigger, but it doesn't. It doesn't. That was just people, including myself, misreading how that worked. They're just standalone bonuses, so it doesn't matter. If I didn't have Freely, would Caddy Bree be who I would have in that slot? Potentially, yeah. Again, you're trying to use fill any and every slot in your layout with a champion that provides a gold find bonus or enables you to farm that monster. Because sometimes when I do this, I don't do this Havilar manipulation. Usually, normally I will just bring in Calliope, and then just have her Calliope shield my tank, and then the tank stays alive while the mimic beats on it, and I do that. So it's whatever you have. Regis has gold find when together with Wolfgar. No. We'll go back over here and we'll talk about this again. This is Regis's gold find. This is all it is. Increases the bounty of the hall pool by 100% multiplicatively. That's it. That's all he has now. Once upon a time, and you know what? I can go look this up, because on that list that I sent you to on the Reddit, on the wiki, for all of my resources, at the very bottom there is what I call a historical archive. And the reason that is there is so that you can go back and understand how champions may have changed over time. Way back in the day, and I'm going to Regis's guide here. Way back in the day, he did a thing where he caused more gold to drop. There was something around stuns causing more golds to drop. But that isn't a thing anymore. Let me see if I can find it. May not have been on his initial. I'm looking at his initial thing. Maybe it was in one of his iterations. But it's not the point is it's not a thing anymore. And it hasn't been for a very long time. Was it Wolfgar? Yeah, I'm not seeing anything on his original pass. It was under Wolfgar, so it was the original companion abilities that was a bonus, and it was triggered off Wolfgar. Wolfgar, if the companions of the hall are in the formation, Regis would cause stunned enemies to drop more gold. Like, that was a function of Wolfgar if Regis was in the formation with Wolfgar, and that's not a thing anymore. That is a very old version. Again, you're looking at a very old guide for Azaka farming, and then it doesn't pertain anymore. What's the point of having that much favor if heroes can be maxed out around E19? That's a very good question. In some cases, it lets you buy blessings, right? I can't demonstrate this on this account, but if we hop over here, I'm soft capped on all my champions. This is the last upgrade point that you can get with gold. This is what this denotes. But if I come over here to blessings in Descent into Avernus, I'm nowhere near getting all of my blessings. So this is why you would Azaka farm. This is why you would need more gold after you soft cap your champions. And also, at some point in the future, they'll raise the soft cap. Right? So you try to get more gold so that you can get more power. If you already have all the blessings in a campaign, then guess what? You probably don't need to farm there outside of a couple minor exceptions, like Tale of Two Champions. You're probably not going to need more gold. So don't do it. How do you farm something without killing it? Like I demonstrated, you pull out the damaging things so that you don't kill it, and then you use Azaka. Azaka, that was the whole point of this, is Azaka's ultimate, when you're under the Resist the Curse specialization, causes enemies to drop gold as if they were killed. So that's how you do it. I missed it. Which champion creates the Mimic? That's Jim Dark Magic. How do Krull's stacks increase past the listed cap of 10? Virulent Strain. This is the broken ability for Krull. This is what breaks Krull mathematically. When an enemy with a plague dies, there's a % chance that the plague will transfer to another enemy. It's possible for an enemy to gain multiple copies of the same plague when this occurs, which will stack multiplicatively. This is the broken thing. It starts out at 10%. The 50% feat will take it up to 50% or 15%. And then increased toxicity will take it all the way up to 30%. And that's when that 30% chance is when you'll start seeing it get to 30 and 40 stacks. Someone's trying to tell me command is the hall changes the more you have in there. No. I mean, if you think it does and you want to prove it mathematically, I encourage you to do so. You can outline all the math on the Reddit with in-game explanations and demonstrations like screenshots. But they specifically just state, and I will go do this again. So if they're not working the way it's stated here, it increases the gold find pool by 100%, right? Multiplicatively, it's just a double, right? So here I've got that listed, but when you add them in, it doesn't change as much as one would think. So this is 300. This is what's going up, but you got to remember that this is the gold find that's adding isn't as huge as you might think it is. Having a lot of them can help, but again, what we're doing is we're looking for the largest bonuses that you can possibly get. And in the current meta, if you have these other champions, those bonuses are going to be better than upping those bonuses a little bit. So keep that in mind, because what you're looking at is it started at 100 and then it's doubling, right? But this isn't the number that you think it is because of the way math works. What you just have to look at is what is it doing? And what it's doing is it's doubling the effect, right? Under here. By 100%. It's doubling it. That is what 100% multiplicatively means. So it's doubling the effect. So yes, as you double things over and over and over, the original number gets higher and higher, right? Like if I start off with 100 and I double it, I get 200, but then I double it again, I get 400, and then it goes to 800, right? But the point is when I'm adding that champion, it's only doubling it. And what you want is something that's doing more than doubling, which is what other champions offer. Anything else? If you're done with the farming, could you bring in Make Us and kill it off for a final bonus? I mean, you could, but it's not even remotely worth it. I mean, you could try, but again, yeah. I mean, Makos gets more. If you put him in Dark Luck, he can kill and get a nice bonus, but to get the damage, like you'd have to do some serious manipulation to get the damage, and then also have the gold find. Because again, remember, we ramped up our gold find super high because we didn't have damage champions in. We had gold find champions in. So you have to do a manipulation where you spike. It's a heavy manipulation where you spike your bud high enough to be able to do, like, use his ultimate to kill it off, but then swap in all of your gold find champions so you still get the max gold find before you hit his ultimate to kill it. It's a lot of work. You can try it out. I don't know that that's necessarily worth it, but 40 stacks it might be. Try it out, see what happens. All right. I'm going to go back and hit the regular questions because I think we're there now. Right away was from yesterday's stream. Did you farm undead with Zorbu? If so, how far did you get? I did. I got it up to like 6 EO5, but as somebody suggested, I still have that running Relentless Peril in another instance, and I will go back there after this is over and let it farm and farm and farm. How many chests do I have? Oh, a lot. I forgot to open Penelope's chests on stream yesterday, so we'll do that today. We got plenty of time to do that today. So bonus, we get some chest opening today. Who's a good healer to have right now? I just have the basic champions. Celeste is your healer in that situation. She's your start off healer. She can heal 1 or 2 rows in front of her based off which specialization you choose. If that's not what you're looking for, and then Calliope can shield within 2 slots of her and can shield the whole party with her ultimate, which they call healing, but it's temporary hit points. Dinar is a good swap if you want somebody who can heal everyone in anywhere. For Celeste, that's usually what I recommend, is like your second swap for slot 2. There are other healers in other places, but they're trade-offs, right? Like Calliope swaps with Keelik, who's a good healer, and also Briv can heal if he's taking damage and lives through the damage. He'll heal the whole party. So there are some other healers, but I think Celeste is a great healer from the start and works for a very long time. Dinar is a good swap in that spot. Regis versus Turial, who's better? I don't really compare the two that much. Turial is very niche support. He wants to be against fiends, and he wants to be in a tank slot, so doesn't work in a single tank formation. So Regis would be viable in more places. Just got here what mission is being played. Oh, the mission doesn't really matter. That wasn't the point. But we were in just the Giant's Bane Tavern in Icewind Dale. Again, who's a good healer to have for beginning? Again, you start off with Celeste, and then, if you want to pick up others from there, Dinar is a good go-to. Is my Dragon Bait shiny yet? No. I get it, Dana Wolf. You can ask every stream, but until the event. So next week, again, off these chests, I have silver chests that I'm saving up to open on stream, and that will be Friday the 4th. I'll open up all my silvers. Hopefully my Dragon Bait will get his final shiny. I've opened up like 1,500 silvers, and he still hasn't got a shiny. It's the last shiny I need for my Core and Evergreen champion, so that's why we're hyping it. And then I'll be able to open up all of those potions of polish and get that shiny on all the things. Anyone know what a good ultimate is to kill off minions? There's a lot. I mean, that's kind of what ultimates do. The key is making sure that you're maximizing your bud, your base ultimate damage, as high as possible, and then a lot of ultimates can kill off enemies. So it's difficult. I think we're probably one of the stronger ones. It's been toned down a little bit. It doesn't double dip anymore, but it's still strong. Is Insignificance. That's Avern's ult. But there's all kinds of ults. I mean, even from the core champions, like Bruner's ult can do some work. Calliope's is real strong. Yeah. Just in general, just make sure the ult is one that does damage and try them out. How do we claim the chest in game that they advertise? So there's a code down there. Which way? Right, tilt. Okay, down there. It's Azaka Farming. Yeah, you type that in. You go up here to the shop, and you say unlock a locked chest. And then you type it in right here, or you copy paste it in right here, and you get that chest. Did I do this yet? No. Yeah, there you go. Bada bing. And then you get a chest. There's a lot of different walls that are mentioned for this game. Click wall, soft wall, hard wall. What are those and what are the difference? Ooh, yeah. I think I talked about this in one of my other video tutorials, but we can do that again here. So, yeah, there's a lot of walls. So a click wall, the initial click wall is just how far you can kill things with click damage. So, and that's based off, the real easy way to read that is you look at just what level your click damage is at. And you should be able to click kill to roughly this level and maybe a little ways past it. Right? So if I were to maximize all of this, my click wall should be like 574. But it's probably a little, I have a couple other things going on right now that might make it further than that. So let's go back and see. I'm going to put some familiars out here. And then I'm going to go back to 550 or 574. But this is just the general rule of thumb, is that you should be able to click at that point. It's probably better to put your gold into champions instead of, oh yeah, see, we're killing way quick. I have a couple other things going on here. I also have some effects like from my Modron that reduce enemy health. That lets me kill further than I normally would. And at that point, then you just have to test off. But the general rule of thumb is, oh yeah, see, I couldn't even get 5 more levels. What they're talking about a click wall is, while I'm still able to click kill stuff here, it's not instantly. And generally speaking, when you're trying to determine what your click wall is, you want to end up somewhere where when you click something, it dies with 1 click. Yeah, this would be it. So 576, and it said 574. So yeah, I was pretty close. This is what you determine your click wall with. Now, why do you care about what your click wall is? I mean, there's 2 reasons. One, usually clicking is going to let you kill things quicker and progress faster at the beginning of a game. That's what, how familiars help you speed up your progress a bit. You don't have to wait for the champion animations and kills and all that kind of stuff to happen. So it can help you just kind of speed through the early parts of your runs. The other reason, though, is if you're going to be doing gem farming on Mad Wizard, you want to figure out what your click wall is to determine where you reset, like where you set up your Modron to do your reset. Usually it's multiples of 30, it's either 30 or 80, which 80 is just another version of 30 because levels reset every 50 levels and they repeat. So any version of 30 is where you want to figure out. So in this situation, because if this was where I was trying to figure out what my click farm wall was for a Mad Wizard, if this was Mad Wizard, my wall would be, well, it wouldn't be 576 because I pushed super hard and got lots of gold to get here. But if for some reason this was all earned from clicking, then I would set my reset at 530 because I didn't quite get to 580, right? Like currently my click wall for Mad Wizard is like 330, but you see this one's at 80 because I have my background formation. I just let it cycle to 80 because that's nice and efficient. But you could just do it to 30 over and over and again. The reason some people will try to figure out what their click wall is and go further is because of Shandy. Shandy is more efficient the further you can utilize her speed for, but she's only going to utilize her speed to the click wall. So, yeah. Now, soft wall, I'll talk about soft walls a lot. Like, so the first, like when I'm trying to figure out my progress, I will have a group of speed champions in, and I will be click killing everything with those speed champions. That will get me to first my click wall, and then very quickly my soft wall after that. Like they'll start killing things after that. And then my soft wall is when those speed champions stop killing things. And then I have to start swapping out speed champions one at a time, or I can just swap them all out in mass if I'm going to go AFK for a bit and come back, and then I will be at another soft wall. And this is my like one of my pushing soft walls, right? Then at that point I'll make sure that I have a maximized DPS formation, and then I will start pushing again, maybe with potions if I really want to push. If I'm going to go like to my actual hard wall, then I'm going to start using potions. If I didn't already have epic potions popped, then I would pop epic potions first, and I would push through to an epic potion wall, and then I'd add hour-long potions, and then I'd see where that hour potion wall is, and then I'd stack in another set of hour along with 15-minute ones, and you just keep pushing and pushing, and then you're going to get to a point where you've got all the potions going, but you're at a wall that still might not be your actual hard wall, because you might be able to manipulate things like I was doing earlier, where I had Ayla out originally, but then I would swap Morgane in because Ayla's debuff sticks around, and then I get the benefit of Ayla's debuff along with Morgane's buffs, and then that lets me kill further. And there's lots of swaps like that. Like you can have Averin, but you could start with Warden, and you could apply Warden's debuff to everything, and you could bring Averin in. Debuff swapping is kind of how you then get to another of your walls. What most people would have is a hard wall, but there are people who will then turn around and go back to click damage. And they will get to their click debuff wall, because they will stack a lot of debuffers like Gromma, who debuffs with her Freezing Breeze and her Arctic Spec. It's up here at 200 Freezing Breeze. They take more damage. You will get a bunch of debuffers in, and then you will just, with an outrageously high click damage like this, you will find that this number with a debuff stacked on top of debuffs ends up doing more than your Bud. And you can then click debuff your way very, very slowly, manipulating lots of debuffs up to a new click debuff wall. There are people that have pushed all the way to the ban wall. There's another wall. It's currently 1100. If you hit 1100, you get soft banned because you're not supposed to be there, because the game breaks after that point. So they're just like, don't go away. You shouldn't be here. So yeah, those are all the walls. How do you upgrade a green item to purple? Just open chests. Every time you open a chest, green to purple requires gold chests. Going from nothing to a white is just silver chests, and silver chests can get you white, green, or blue. Gold chests get you green, blue, or purple. Regular gold chests will get you gear for your core and evergreen champions, whereas for anyone else, like say Gromma, who's an event champion, I've got to either open named Gromma chests or a chest that includes Gromma in it, like a weekend chest. Like if she was in the weekend buffs, this weekend chest would be there. Patrons, like she qualifies for certain patrons, so patron chests would drop gear for her, that kind of stuff. I already did that crawl question. Jay, if you want to mark that one off. What if you click on the link that talks about your stream? Do you get huge feedback and it can mess up your Twitch? No, I already have the stream open on another thing to make sure that it's live. I have it up on a monitor over here. I have my streaming software up there, which is why sometimes I'm looking up and to the left. My left. And then I have all the questions on the bottom half of this monitor. I've got a monitor in portrait mode, so it's huge. And then I've got the game right here. There are multiple versions of the game right here. How do you design the free chess code? I don't know what that means. I mean, I come up with, on this stream, Dylan was kind enough to let me come up with fun names for the things, which is why it says Azaka Farming. On my other streams, it's just a generic code that comes out of a code generator. Like when you see it's like those random combinations of letters, that's just a generic code generator they have. But I just come up with something that's relevant to the stream or humorously relevant to the stream, and I use that. I don't want this to sound judgmental. It already sounds judgmental. Generally curious is how do you make decisions with your gameplay to draw lines? Is this Azaka technique somewhat exploitive? In other words, how do you rationalize things like this that exist in the game, like swapping heroes between parties to respec you seem to frown upon? Is there a certain many people are doing it with Azaka? So So this comes down to how you define the difference between unintended gameplay and bugs. And this comes down to design, right? So unintended gameplay and what is called what then becomes like, well, I guess, okay, bugs, unintended gameplay, and emergent gameplay, right? So sometimes you have a bug on something, like a character will have a bug and it's not working correctly, and it generates unintended gameplay. That is problematic, right? Like if that wasn't, obviously if there's a bug and it's doing something that it's not supposed to do, and you're using that in a way that was not intended, to me that becomes exploitative. That's generally accepted by most people to be considered exploitative. That's what they're talking about when you're exploiting something in a game in most cases, or that's what it's supposed to be. That's what exploits are supposed to be referred to. Sometimes terms get tossed around by people who don't know the original use, and then they try to apply it to other things, and that leads to arguments. So if it was a bug, like originally Barrowin, no, Barrowin's more unintended, pure unintended. Okay, let me see. Who had a crazy bug? Recently Penelope. Penelope had a bug that allowed her to be crazy DPS and potentially even better than Zorbu DPS, right? That was a bug with how her stuff was applying. And thus it led to unintended gameplay. Azaka, on the other hand, is unintended gameplay not based off a bug, and thus becomes emergent gameplay. So Azaka was designed for her ultimate to work this way. It was designed for our ultimate to drop gold off something that wasn't dead. I think the original design was, hey, you just get a bunch of gold, even if you're having trouble killing stuff, you're getting gold, and that gold you can use to level up your champions. That was probably the intended design. But the unintended usage came from manipulating a situation to add lots of gold find after you got one creature left on its own, which was just not something that they would have imagined somebody would have done. And thus the resultant gameplay of Azaka Farming is what is referred to in the gaming industry as emergent gameplay. It may not have been in the intended gameplay, but it is the gameplay. And a good example of emergent gameplay in games is speedruns. Games were never built to be speedrun. Now, sometimes speedruns rely on bugs, exploiting bugs, right? But even if there are no bugs in a game, people will speedrun a game. They will just try to find the fastest way possible, and they'll try to manipulate every gameplay mechanic that is in there to try to beat and bypass and do stuff to just beat a game as quickly as possible. It's fantastic to watch. It's really neat. I consider it really high level applications of understanding mechanics and gameplay and stuff. And that is why even developers are like, oh, this is awesome. And they watch it and they love it. Even if it relies on bugs, because a lot of times these were games when it first started. Speed runs were on games that were shipped finished games, like back when it was cartridges and stuff. There was no patching bugs for things. So you just kind of embrace that. And in the speedrun community, that's just an embraced thing. But that is an emergent gameplay. Azaka Farming is an emergent gameplay. Kind of like Click Debuff. Click Debuff isn't based off a bug. The click damage scales infinitely in a line currently, as far as we know, or it has, and it's done so. Every level it goes up a certain amount. It's just usually your champions scale better than spending money on click damage, which is why we say you do it up to that level and then you tend to stop at the beginning of the game, because at that point, the amount of gold you're spending, it is more efficient for you to put it in your champions. However, once you reach your soft cap on your champions, it is no longer efficient to put gold into your champions. But the efficiency of the click damage holds true. And if you have enough favor in a campaign, you can overcome by a large amount the damage off of that champions would have done at that soft cap wall. That is an emergent gameplay. Whether or not that's something they want to continue supporting is a whole other thing. This Azaka Farming, they have been happy of. Here I am on the official Twitch. Dylan and I sit down to talk about topics. I don't just wing this stuff, folks. Like, I get these topics approved. And Azaka Farming, hey, yeah, do it. This is an emergent gameplay that they like. It takes time. It is manipulative. It was an intelligent thing to come up with. Again, kudos to Lisa. Again, or whoever it was, I believe it is Lisa, but my memory could be failing me. Now, there are other things that are that were unintended and that I don't necessarily like. And I just choose not to do them. If anybody else wants to use that, go right ahead. I showed one of them off today on stream, the Havilar Slow. I think it's unintended that Havilar Slow stacks, and that you can freeze a monster and never have it touch your party. So in general, I don't use that because I don't feel like I need to. I can get lots of gold, and I have gotten lots of gold on this account without manipulating that specific what I believe is unintended gameplay. I don't believe that is an example of emergent gameplay because I don't believe it was ever meant to do that, and I don't think that that's necessarily healthy for the game. In the same play that I don't like that Briv can skip bosses. Like, there are things that I just don't like. I think Krull is unhealthy for the game, and the way his stacks multiply. It's how he was designed. They've even nerfed him. Originally, there was no limit to the number of unique instances of his plagues you could get. So imagine if you just keep multiplying, not by 4 instances at 40 stacks. What if you had 400 stacks? That was a thing that you could do when Krull first came out, and they changed it because they didn't like that, but they just never changed it again, right? So there's a fine line. I tend to find that bugs are things that I consider exploits. I consider unintended design that creates interesting gameplay, like Azaka Farming, emergent gameplay. As long as it's not, I don't see it harmful, because there's a certain point where gold just doesn't really matter anymore in this game. So it's not like you're getting tons and tons of, if it was something that created endless amounts of gems, that's a problem, right? I don't see all this gold because you're still limited by how far you can push. And you can hit your hard wall. My hard wall is going to be my hard wall no matter what. It just is. The only thing that's going to get gold isn't going to get me further because I'm already soft capped. So there's going to be a point where that Azaka Farming won't get me any more gold. It just won't. So, in that sense, I don't know that's a gameplay mechanic that's broken. I don't know. It's all kind of personal choices. And we see the way that developers react to certain things can inform our decisions on that. What do they like? What do they not like? You can figure that out by paying attention to the things that they fix and change and the way they comment on things over time. More questions. Patron Farming. Do the rubies from beating variants count towards either of the weekly caps? So ruby coins earned from free play variants this week. So no, right? Because variants have nothing to do with free plays. They aren't free plays. And that's the only cap there is. There's only a cap on free play coins. I just started listening to stream. Do you already cover why you have Turial as a tank instead of Wolfgar? I had Wolfgar when I was Azaka farming. I used Turial to push to my wall. So, yeah. I'm not sure the context of that. Very seems like he would be a good gold finder. Is he going to be added? Oh, I don't know. I am not a developer. I'm just a player that that makes a lot of guides, and that they decided they wanted to do streams to explain stuff. What's at 3080 that those numbers specifically need to stop at? Okay, retrieved. You know what? We only got 10 minutes, but you know what? I don't need to be. Oh. I forgot to explain. This is more a Freely thing than a Azaka farming thing, but Freely has Adventurous Tale. Adventurous Tale multiplies how much is a multiplier on the favor you earn at the end of a campaign based off how many areas you've completed with him in your formation. It's currently at 63%, which if we show, watch, 320, I think it's going to count no matter what. E30, yeah, he doesn't even have to be in the formation anymore. But here's the point. This was, I was going to gain 3.22 E36. You can see Freely's bonus here at 1.24 E36. Now, if I go over here, though, and he has a feat for this, if I add his adventurous tail feat, it increases by 40%. So now I'm getting 1.74 E36. So it isn't a huge amount, but it's still more. So why not grab it at the end of a run, right? It took it up to an 88.4. I've had it over 100% before. So yeah, do that. After you've spent all that time, make sure that you have that feat on freely. So this was a huge jump for me. But that's because I'd never farmed in Icewind Dale before. But let's go back to the Sword Coast, to the Mad Wizard. This is where everybody farms, and this is where these numbers matter. I've got a speed formation. I'm just going to load it. Yes. Try to pull people over. This burner is not in this speed formation. This is a glitch that happens if you don't have everybody available. That's not a thing, folks. Oh, buggy. These people aren't. It's all because Binwin is stuck in another formation, and I'm picking all the wrong specializations. I just want them off my screen for the moment. Okay, now load in the actual party, please. Thank you. So normally you would pick all of the speed-related bonuses. Yeah, I think I missed one on Deacon, but that's fine. So this would be my speed formation. Again, you just use whatever you have that's speedy. But this is a combination of speed champions and multi-hit champions. And the key here is the reason you set it at like 30 or 80 is because the first 30 levels of Mad Wizard are the fastest because they have these spawners in them that can spawn. We'll get to one. Here's one now. You see they come right out. The second things die with click damage, they instantly spawn more enemies. This is what makes Mad Wizard faster than other basic free plays that you can do. There are a couple variants that are quicker, but managing to not complete a variant takes a lot of manual work, so it's just generally accepted that you farm Mad Wizard. So the first 30 levels are the fastest because they're the ones that have these spawners in them. The next 20 levels that get up to 50 are slower. So usually you just want to use the 30 fastest levels, and the only time you would go, so you would start off with just doing a click and resetting at 30. But once you have enough gold, like if you see, I'm already up to level 211 here on my click damage. So when you have Shandy, and this only matters once you have Shandy. If you don't have Shandy, you just go to 30. Just set it to 30 and have it reset on 30 and churn through 30 levels over and over and over again. Once you have Shandy, it is more efficient for her and her speed effect for you to go as far as possible because she needs you to have a formation not be under attack for 60 seconds. And that's 60 seconds of actual play. It doesn't count in these transition periods. As you see, it's not clicking down. See, we're only getting a couple seconds of credit at a time. So if you were only going to level 30 with her dash would just be kicking in at 30. That's not super helpful. And she's increasing the game speed by a whopping 50% here with her spec choice. You want that speed. So the further you can click kill, the further your wall is, the more efficient the speed is that you're getting off Shandy. So you want to do it at either 30 or 80 or 130 or 180 or 230 or I do mine at 330 on my actual active formation when I'm doing it. If I have it in a background party, I just put it at 80 because I know my champions can kill to 80. I don't use clickers or anything. I just chose 80 because they kill pretty quickly and it's a small group. So yeah. I don't know if they want me like I don't think you could do a whole one of these tutorials on just Mad Wizard farming, but yeah. What's a Modron? Modrons are, well, it says they're unlocked after you, I've got a whole tutorial on this if you want to look it up on the CNN YouTube channel. But they enable, like you unlock multiple parties and then you get these Modron cores. And Modron cores is like this pipe game that you place a bunch of pipes. This is the real simple version. Let me show you the more complicated version, right? You get pipes out of chests and you place them in this pipe game and you maximize flows to get purple. And then you get these huge buffs on them that are all listed here. And there are all kinds of buffs. There's gold buffs, there's damage buffs, there's debuffs. And they basically, it's another way for you to get power and progression in the game. What was a lockdown level? Missed that thanks to the sneeze. I don't know what lockdown level means. Can you talk at all about the math behind games like this? I know it's based generally off an exponential curve of gains. I can't. That's a question for the developers. I mean, yeah, everything in this game has a diminishing returns. So it is kind of an exponential curve as it goes up. The further you get, the more effort you need to put in to get more out of it. That's just the way they do this to make sure that, you don't just completely stomp everything. But if you want to talk about that, you're going to need to go on the actual dev stream on a time when they have like Justin or somebody on there, probably Justin. He tends to handle a lot of that. But it's one of the math devs, right? Then you can ask them a little more about that. They'll probably have more of an answer for you. It's over for my time gate and open all the chests, and right now just doing free play. I have 6 more pieces initially. I was thinking of trying to get another gate open for Crawl. Yeah, Crawl's coming up. Go ahead and get somebody else. This is the only time when Crawl's event is literally happening Wednesday. We're going to get Warden, Crawl, and Lucius the Nasty. Excuse me, Elanasto. They're showing up on Wednesday, so use your time gate to get somebody else. Is this Azaka guide written down somewhere? No, it's not by me. There are some guides out there, but they're real old because the people that made them didn't want to update them ever because the core version of it is still functional. The problem is it's got really old information, like we were finding out today. Can you beat idle champions? No. I want to open my Penelope chest real quick. So Penelope, we got 4 minutes, folks. I'm going to speed open Penelope chest because I want to do this on screen and I'm not waiting until next week because I use Penelope. So I need this blue. I did buy a pack, which got this. It gave me a gap here. I want this gap out of my blues, but otherwise we're looking for all the blues and all the purples, but we're only going to get a couple of them. So here we'll open the pack first. What do we get? We should get, blues right away. We should get, at least 3 blues right away before it starts duplicating. And then we just want to see where the epics fall. There's the 3rd blue. Now we're into the regular chests. Oh, there's our bug. Oh, geez. I got the double epic. I'll take it. Hold on, let's go look and see what that filled in specifically. Oh, geez. So that's both the ultimate ones, but no gap. So that's good. So I do have, I'm still missing the blue mask. I need the blue mask. So that was a double I was not expecting. Specifically, I try to get to like 24 chests because if it goes full pity timer, that means I get 3 epics. There's the blue mask. So let's see. We should get 2 more epics at a minimum, which means I'll end up 5 out of 6, which is higher than I expected out of Penelope. But that's how luck works sometimes, right? And now we're probably going to go fully to the pity. No, I didn't full pity timer. There's never ending story. That's the Have You Met My Friends ability. That's great. That's the one I want, right? That's the nice one for Penelope. Large bounty contract. Keep in mind those purples, like if it's a purple consumable, it doesn't take away from your pity timer. The pity timer, or RNG protection, as some people refer to it, that's this purple bar over here, only matters. Wow. Okay, we may get them all. Only matters when it's an actual purple item. What the heck, folks? I got my streamer luck this week. I need it next week. I want it to get my shiny though, but I'll take it for Penelope. I only need 1 more, so I'm guaranteed to get full epics. That was not expected. I thought I'd get the one that was in the pack, and then 3 more. I thought I'd be 4 out of 6, and then I'd have to fill in with patron chests, which is exactly what I was expecting to do. That's how I usually epic out all my champions. The only reason I bought the 3-pack was because I really like Penelope as a champion. I know some people don't, but I think she's a great support champion in slot 12. And, you can't always use Zorbu, so she makes her a great option there. There we go. Oh, I got a duplicate and the final thing. Yep, there we go. Full purples. Yay! Full epic on Penelope. Oh, and let's see what her item levels got to. 48. All right, so I'll be burning some blacksmithing contracts to get her up to 80. That is my current floor. All that stuff that we can talk about. If you have a question about that, we can talk about that on another stream. I stream on my own channel, twitch.tv/Gaarawarr. You can find it right down there. If you want to know when, you can follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/Gaarawarr. It's amazing. The people don't steal my name because who wants that name? I stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You can come hang out. We do the new player streams, like the Mars War Challenge stuff, specifically Thursdays. And then I do these shows on Friday and Saturday. Friday is the general all-purpose, all questions. We take all the questions and answer them. That's the whole thing on Friday. And then Saturdays with this show, the deep dive show, there's a specific topic that we talk about each week. And you can find the VODs for all of this at the CNE Games YouTube channel. I don't have the link for that. I don't remember if they made a command for that. But maybe Jay can drop it in the chat. So yeah, thanks for hanging out with us this week. Next week's topic, we're going to be going to see, we kind of talked about automation. We're going to talk about automation. We're going to talk about any and all things related to automation, both familiars and modrons, so that you can do things like farm Mad Wizard and other stuff like that. We're going to do all the automation stuff next week. So return next week for that. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of, if you're in the US, the holiday weekend. Be safe, wear your mask, social distance, do all that stuff, because it's just getting worse because people ain't doing it. So do it, please. I will catch you all next week. Thank you to CNE Games and to Jay for pulling all the questions. Bye, everybody.